There's a whole leader session and set of work that we have to do and build new skill sets and mindsets. And one of those is having the humility to know this is scary and we're going to work through this together, and being able to say that as a leader.
I think
and have fun.
Courage feels a lot like fear when you're in it.
Yes. Yes.
Welcome to The Parallel Entrepreneur. This is a special series on innovation supported by Relationary Marketing and the Chase Studios, recorded at the Greater Nashville Technology Council Innovation Summit. I'm joined today by guest host Johnny Anderson. He's the entrepreneur in residence at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center. Sit back and join us for this special edition of having authentic conversations with people that care. This conversation isn't comfortable, and that's the whole point. Amalia Goodwin is the Global Managing Director of Adaptive Organizations at Slalom, and she works with executives who already know something most leaders avoid admitting. The systems that made them successful won't survive the AI age. In this episode, we dive deep into two ideas that challenge the status quo. One, why incremental change is actually dangerous right now. And two, what it means to lead organizations that can sense, decide, and evolve fast enough to stay relevant. If you're leading through uncertainty, and everyone is, this conversation offers a few nuggets you'll appreciate. So let's dive right in.
So I'm all about helping organizations be successful, and this technology, I think, levels the playing field in so many different levels. So it's so much fun.
That's awesome. You're Portland, Oregon, right?
I do live in the West Coast. I have had, ventures about living in North Carolina and other spots. So I do love when I get to come play in the South as well.
Well, I'm from Eugene, Oregon. So
you are?
And I lived in Portland for 10 years, and I've got to say, welcome to the South.
I appreciate that.
Go Ducks.
Go Ducks.
Go Ducks.
Go Ducks, yeah. I was born and raised in Idaho, and really have spent most of my life in the Northwest, in Oregon and Washington, Seattle, and Portland. But I always love coming back down to Nashville and to the Triangle. That's probably, I sort of think about like the third act of my life and what's that going to look like. And this keeps calling me back, so we'll see.
Well,
come
we're
on
full.
down. Come on down.
Actually, no, we're full. Thank you.
You're full. Yeah, like I say this, and when I will talk to folks in, like when I go back to Idaho, I'm like, but hey, I did my undergrad here, I did my high school here, I was born and raised. You have to accept me back, even though I left for a minute.
So what is it? We're on behalf of the Greater Nashville Technology Council. I'll ask the question: what is it? What do we have here in Nashville?
What you have is an interesting, I guess spark is the first word that comes to my brain. You have an energy that is around people and culture, but is friendly to business and innovation. And being able to bring that secret sauce all together and have fun with it, I believe creates community, right? So when your businesses are thinking about your community, and when your education systems and I got to meet some amazing people that are really trying to think through how do we think about education very differently, because we should. I don't see that. I get the privilege of going to many different cities and around the country. I don't see this everywhere. So it is pretty special what you've created and the excitement that the businesses have around, okay, how do we do this? How do we think about this? How do we involve the community, inclusive of the education system? That just doesn't exist.
So I've been, like everybody, sort of addicted to this conversation about AI, and I'm going to tackle it from a different angle. I think the definition of value is changing. What is value?
What do you think is changing?
Well, I was in a conversation with a client this week, and I do M&A work, and everybody is looking, does the guy who's going to buy you have a better strategy than you, and are you moving in that direction? And everybody's evaluating AI strategies specifically. But the companies themselves often seem to wonder, let's say, for example, if we could just get this project done in 6 hours that used to take us 60, do we pass that value on to the customer? Do we pull that value inside? What is the value of the service we delivered if we now know it can be done in 6 hours?
Yep.
And all of our perspectives are defined by 60.
Yep.
And these are 10x changes in everybody's life, internal and external perspectives. So there's a war, I think, going on about the definition of value. I'm curious how you see that playing out.
I think that's a really great and a good perspective to have. What occurs to me about value is when you save that time, I think a couple things are happening. One is people are like, you often hear, it didn't work. I'm like, yeah, you've got savings, you've got leakage because you haven't redefined what you want people to be doing. I think value starts to, I think the organizations that will succeed the value is going to be how do they continue to reinvent themselves? So we call it how are you continuously being an adaptive org or an adaptive leader, but it is reinvesting in the continuous change that this technology is bringing. But I also do think how an organization measures itself, there will always be the tried and true things that you're looking at from an M&A standpoint and from a business standpoint for sure. But I do think it starts to shift. And so you are going to start what I'm valuing and what I want out of the teams I get the fortune to work with and manage are, what is your learning velocity? How fast are we learning and pivoting so that we can help our customers differently? And learning velocity isn't training courses, it's behavior changes. How are we thinking about an innovation cycle and an innovation metabolism where we take ideas to how fast can we pivot those ideas to actual revenue? That is a different value that we need to start thinking about. How do we think about the decision velocity that leaders have? That is of a different value that what will stop and slow down organizations is wanting to be sure. And that is really hard, from a leader standpoint, wanting to know all the answers before you move forward and knowing when do we know enough to start testing and playing in a way that's often, you hear Amazon talking about a two-way door. So when is it where we can still play and it's not cutting us off? And where do we need to really slow down and go slow? We're treating everything as a slowdown. So I think valuing decision velocity. So I think there's a whole, and then what is the overall experience we're creating for our customers and our people? That will be of a different value as well. I think it all does start to shift and it becomes more than revenue. Revenue is always going to be a judging stone, but I think your ability to create new revenue because all of our expectations change is going to have to shift because you're thinking about it very differently.
Mm-hmm. I love the term innovation metabolism. And when I think about metabolism, you can feed your body energy and then not work out and get no muscle from it. Or you could fast and have completely different life experience just by changing the nature of how you feed, how you fuel yourself. So AI is changing the nature of how leaders fuel themselves, how they make decisions, how the people respond to it. How are you stamping the fear out? Because I think fear is the root of why people want to be sure of something because they're afraid of something. How are you stamping fear out of strategic decision making and innovation metabolism? It's fun. I think it's okay to be afraid. I think part of this is there's got to be a lot of leader work that is happening, right? So working with your C-suite and your leaders and your executives throughout the organization. And part of this is we have gotten here, I've spent almost 30 years in my career and I've gotten to this point because I've learned something and I know how to reapply it. And now we all have to learn something brand new. And maybe all of our experience doesn't have the same value as it once did. My value is now relearning and helping people know that I can help them get through this because we're all scared. It's okay for humans to be scared and the fear that exists. It's helped us evolutionary. We need it. But it is okay to, we need to acknowledge that and go, okay, this is a little scary. Let's try. Let's have fun trying. So I think the biggest thing that we've done is make it fun. So we've done things like creating blackout bingo to learn the new skills, to create it as using AI in your day-to-day work. Blackout bingo for teams and departments. And it's true, we created tic-tac-toe for executives, made it a little easier to have our C-suite come in and start playing with this technology in a different way. But having fun with it, acknowledging it, it's a little scary. The first time I had it, my experience with this has been, I was lucky enough with Slalom in our innovation lab to be playing with the 2.0 model. So I saw it with some early avatars. I'm like, okay, that's neat and it's clunky. And a lot of the innovation teams would come through and they were seeing value. And I was like, that makes sense. They're like, no, Amalia, you need to be paying attention. And I smiled at him. I got an org design I got to do. That's neat. And
And then 3.0, like 6 months later, happened. I was like, and then that blew me away. I was like, oh, it just made an SOW for me. I often tell this story. I'm like, and it was maybe better than what I would do. And there's that feeling of, oh, then what do I do? But if I'm honest with myself, I don't like doing that work. I like doing the, like, working with the leader work. I like doing, like, connecting with the teams and helping them. So, and that is not necessarily something a GPT is going to do for you or an agent's going to do for you. So I do think there is something around acknowledging it. Like, there's a whole leader session and set of work that we have to do and build new skill sets and mindsets. And one of those is having the humility to know this is scary and we're going to work through this together, and being able to say that as a leader.
I think
and have fun.
Courage feels a lot like fear when you're in it.
Yes. And like, it's okay to feel fear and you keep going.
Yeah.
And that's like what happened to me. I was like, oh, I can either be bored in my career for another 10 years and be done, or I'm going to jump into this and change it all and be really scared and have some fun. And that's the only thing I know to do. You jump into it.
I've always heard courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the presence of, or it's action in the presence of fear.
No, it's there and you still move forward. It's kind of like the bison. You go into the storm, right?
Well, you use some really interesting terms, and you mentioned the term relearn. And full disclosure, I heard you speak yesterday and present, and I was fascinated by this slight change by changing 2 letters, and you use the term unlearn. Mm-hmm. Relearn's a function. Mm-hmm. I get it. Unlearn's a little more complicated. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, unlearn's hard. And this is, I believe that one of the things I often will say is it's leaders, it's us that's going to get our own way with this technology. And part of that is we got here knowing some things, right? And we're good at what we do. And so how do I stop and go, okay, what has served me in the past is not going to help me in the future. So how do I stop this current behavior? And as a leader, some of that is thinking you know what's next. And if we really are honest, 2027 is pretty hard to predict from a technology standpoint and what's going to really be there. So how do I really stop and challenge what I think I know and really start thinking of, and like a very tactical thing I do with leaders is you need to think in 6-month increments. In 6 months, you can take what, like, GPT-5 just came out. Microsoft's got something coming in 2 weeks, I think-ish. Like, they will all have something in, like, about the same period of time where you can make, all right, what's my BHAG for the next 6 months? And you should start thinking about this in 6-month increments, not 2 to 3 years. And so that is like an unlearned behavior of like everything I think I know I do in this time period, and we're gonna get to this roadmap that's 2 to 3 years. I'm like, get your team to a spot where you can do that in 6 months is a very different thing. So how do you, like, things you know to be true in everything you do, like, how do you ask the question and stop and go, is that true? Is the strategy really a 2-year roadmap, or is it a 6-month roadmap against a very large 30-year massive transformative vision that, like, feels like science fiction, but you'll probably get there because of this technology.
A massive 30-year transformative vision.
Mm-hmm.
You can string some words together that
just
like get me jacked up, pumped up. Yes,
it's so much fun. How much fun is this stuff, right?
Yeah. You mentioned earlier games. You're putting games together, or you've used the word play.
Yep.
And I've recently thought about, when kids get together, they're playing. There is no rule set. Then we eventually teach them the rules of the game, which sort of like wrecked the play part, and now it's a contest and a game. And then later on, games are no fun, right? So we've sort of pressed the fun out of play.
Yes.
And wouldn't it be great if we looked at this as a big playground?
Yes.
For the creative expression of whatever we haven't figured out yet. So what's the most exciting thing that you have seen people do that is playground oriented?
Sounds like we need to unlearn some things.
Yeah, there is an unlearning thing. I think one of the things, I've got something that a team is working on right now to that answer. One of the things I think is really true, what you just said there, and is really profound, is there is something really interesting to watch out of kids and like their excitement for learning. And one thing that happened in my educational system around learning rote information that we no longer necessarily need to know. We need to learn how to learn. And so like if we can help kids and and adults really think through really what we do now is learn how to learn, and use this technology to help us learn and you do our critical thinking and that sort of thing. And you can have fun with that and have a playground with it. We have a team doing bake-offs. We always do we've always done fun hackathons where you gather a team together and you present ideas. What was really fun about this last year's hackathon within our organization, we had a business team with no and low code team win the hackathon. There was a technology hackathon because and I think that shows something very interesting around. These were business consultants. These weren't like the tech teams. So I think there's something also happening in organizations where we've done this bottom-up use case view, and we said, okay, tech, go build this for us. And I'm like, half of those use cases, I think we could teach low and no code skills to the business and they can self-serve. And our experts in technology should be doing the bigger, harder, more complex things. So there's a different way to think about that. And so so we've definitely done the bake-offs. I think we're going to do another bake-off around agentic flow right now where we'll have our senior execs do, and we've done this with clients as well, where they come in and they get to be the judges. And so we give people a period of time, and it could be 2 or 3 days where they war room it and they create from vision through pretty much Figma workable code to something pretty amazing. And you can get that done in 2 to 3 days and do what's the concept that we want to do and play with and take to the next level. Many clients do fun things like that as well. And you can have fun with it when you're doing that, and you're then allowing people that maybe were I'm not sure about this AI thing, and they're now presenting to your C-suite, or they're presenting to their CEO or their COO or whoever's in that organization, that they probably would have never had that opportunity to, of what they just built in 2 days is you have people that will follow that forever.
A bake-off sounds like the right answer.
I love
Let's
it.
play.
I love it.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome to Nashville. Go
Yes.
Ducks.
Go Ducks.
Thank you so much. Had a blast.
Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of The Parallel Entrepreneur. And thank you to our sponsors, partners, and the special team behind the scenes that make it all possible. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to our podcast and get the latest updates. And to learn more about this growing community of entrepreneurs, our mastermind and companion program for your parallel entrepreneur journey, visit parallelentrepreneur.com. And of course, thank you to all the visionary guests who trust us to share their stories.